And there it is, exactly that. Okay, so Cloud9 Maelstrom versus Zeveron. Of course,
immediately.
They just there it is. Take out the Kerrigan. They know that it is a strong pick for Zeveron. They just don't want to deal with it moving forward.
And that's definitely like just a respect band. They're like, you know, Zeveron, we know you've been running a lot of Kerrigan. It's kind of just a pillar in most of your compositions. Let's take it out. And Zeveron says, Cloud9, we've seen your Zeratul Abathur. Let's take that out as well.
The rise of the melees and the damage. I mean, Abathur once upon a time was not even considered top tier, but now because of those Zeratals, because of those Kerrigans, those Illidan's, and you know, Europe was really much onto this way before North America, but still, the Abathur, bam! Look at that.
Yeah, it gets picked up very early. And I wouldn't say that Zeveron is necessarily known for grabbing their Abathur, but it is still going to be a strong pickup, especially if Maelstrom is able to grab Illidan with it. But do you guys think it's a strong enough pick if you can't guarantee the Illidan?
This is interesting. Does Zeveron, are they confident in picking up Illidan here? They do pick up Sylvanas as that first pickup, but they have a second hero. I really think the denial of Illidan is worth it, but no, they're going for Jaina.
Man, I mean, I'm not entirely too sure I've seen too much of Zeveron with that Illidan, but, you know, going with the lovely ladies of the storm, Sylvanas and Jaina, very common first picks here. They bring a lot of damage when put together. If a Kael'thas gets through this, you might be looking for that as the first, you know, kind of triple DPS, so to speak, with that Sylvanas. But this is the big point here. Will Cloud9 run that Illidan?
Johanna. I love this combo. Yes, let's talk a little bit more about Johanna in particular. We saw her really making waves in the last fights, in the last game there with that condemn ability, and she's just so difficult to take down. When you pair the Abathur hat with the symbiote on top of that, she can just get to wherever she wants and have the damage output. It can be a scary combination. This could also set up for Asmodee play a little bit later.
Very well could.
All right, well, Illidan could be that next pick, but no, they're going to go for Tassadar. They give up the potential of Illidan. They're going for a takedownable composition here. You put Johanna with that Tassadar. They're very hard to remove from the battlefield. The Abathur hat provides shielding and additional presence across the map. Very cool, and a lot of push potential with Promote and, of course, the Locusts.
And so we have seen Tassadar repeatedly today, and, you know, we had our chance here. If Cloud9 wanted that Illidan, it had to have been in those picks. And they're not going to get it because that's going to be the next ban here from Zeveron.
Right, and as you mentioned, we are in that second ban phase, so it is going to be the Vikings banned out once again on Dragonshire. Find that to be, that's interesting. I mean, they probably saw the power of it in the previous game and said, yeah, we don't want to deal with it at this point.
This also means there's a Kael'thas left.
It does mean a Kael'thas is left, and we will very likely see him picked up, but Muradin is going to be the first warrior on the side of Zeveron. Do they commit to Kael'thas? It might be a little bit too risky for the Judgment kind of compositions that do exist.
Okay, and we are still looking for that extra pick. There it is. The Kael'thas somehow managed to slither his way through the second round of bans, but he does get picked up nonetheless. I'd be very shocked if he didn't get grabbed at all.
Well, that would have been all the benefit there to Cloud9 Maelstrom because they're very light on damage if you look at this. Yeah. And now adding Uther with the Tassadar, I mean, it shields and heals Abathur, of course, with the Carapace and the Presence. Johanna, they need some kind of damage on this board, or is this going to be some kind of new sustained comp meta?
On the flip side, it's going to be very difficult to take any of those heroes down.
Right,
exactly.
So Johanna with the huge sustained, Tassadar with the dimensional shift, very difficult to take down, and Uther will probably the tankiest support that exists. An interesting lineup nonetheless, and Falstad is going to be the remaining pick.
Thank goodness there's at least one assassin there.
All right, well, Cloud9, they're well known for their Falstad play. Of course, he's just a very versatile hero. He has the mobility, he has the damage, and Hinterland's Blast is massive. And then the support will be Malfurion for Zeveron.
That is very interesting considering that Brightwing is still on the table. Would you think that she's a better pick for this?
The thing about Brightwing is there's not a lot of things that you need to interrupt with the Polymorph, and Malfurion's going to just give that more control with the roots and, of course, just the massive amounts of healing that he has.
I'm glad you brought up the roots because the roots, especially at level 16, tenacious roots. You get bigger, faster, stronger, longer. That's kind of, you put all that together.
It's like a Daft Punk song.
It absolutely is. And when you put that together for the roots, for the team, that's a big opportunity for those mages to land those combos.
Okay, we have the draft completed, and let us know what you guys think about the tournament thus far. How excited are it for you guys? Yeah, that's a good sentence. We'll get through it eventually, huh? But we're excited. That's what I got to say. Getting into it. But follow us at Blizz Heroes, please. Use the hashtag HeroesWC so you guys can get in on the conversation.
And it looks like we're going to be starting game number 1 here on Dragonshire. It is going to be Zeveron versus Cloud9 Maelstrom, and I just can't wait to hop on in.
Yeah, this is a very, very anticipated match, but let's not delay any further. On the right side for the red team, of course, that is going to be Zeveron. We have Faye is going to be on Sylvanas. Equinox is going to be playing. Well, what is that skin? I don't know. That's Sylvanas. Jeez. Okay. All right. Faye is on Kayla. The color coordination is just ruining me here. CauthonLuck is, of course, going to be.
That's a Jaina.
There we go. Jeez,
Yep.
The colors are just blowing out here.
Crazy skins.
Of course, is going to be on the Malfurion, and Fury, of course, playing the Muradin.
Now, none of those are actually the default skins, just showing they have all these crazy skins available in this tournament. But on the opposing side, that's Cloud9 Maelstrom with Caffeine, Dunktrain, Keiwan Pro, iDream, and of course, Abathur rounding out the team, rocking the Pajamather skin.
That's right, that's right. So, find ourselves on Dragonshire once again. Will the strategy change too much? But of course, we've got to talk about Abathur as well. It does have the presence globally across the map, so that might be something that we see pushing out a little bit more often in the top lane.
And yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of the synergies that exist. Now, we mentioned Abathur paired with Illidan, we mentioned Abathur paired with Zeratul. Abathur Johanna is equally as terrifying, and although she's not an assassin, she just has so much control with Condemn, and she's just so hard to eliminate. You can't stop her from moving towards you. That unstoppable that she gets will just keep charging forward with the assistance of the Abathur hat.
Do you think it's interesting that they didn't end up grabbing Asmodin in this composition, considering they had the Johanna already locked in? I think it's a bit too much maybe with the Abathur as well?
I was really thinking about it, and yeah, I was a bit surprised, because Falstad, as nice as he is, Asmodin can get quite powerful in the later half of the game. Could have been an interesting damage dealer, just, again, very hard to eliminate the entire team, but Falstad having that presence, having the mobility on that hero, a big benefit.
Taking a look at some of the talents, we do see for Equinox on the Sylvanas a bit of an interesting pickup. It's actually the cooldown reduction on the Shadow Dagger instead of the Withering Fire, which is the extra range on the Q. So might find himself a little bit more in dangerous positions, having to push forward, not having the range on her big damage dealing ability, but we'll be able to use that Shadow Dagger more often.
Yeah, Shadow Dagger. I mean, that, again, he might even be speccing into the lifesteal in some ways if he decides to go that way. Sylvanas, of course, once you do that, we do have a bit of a disconnect here out of iDream, so that's going to just be, you know, minor hiccup.
Sure, no problem. Yes, so hopefully we can get that sorted out really quick for you guys. But overall, between these two drafts, who do you think really took the advantage?
It's so hard to say because these sustainable compositions can be incredibly powerful. Just if you cannot eliminate your opposing team, well, you're not going to get the benefit of experience or the benefit of the mechanisms like the Dragonite. But on the opposing side, there's just so much damage output. So a lot of it's going to come down to Sylvanas hitting massive wailing arrows to silence the heals, silence the enemy team from being able to use their sustainability abilities.
Absolutely, for sure. So I'm honestly very, very excited to see what Zeveron can do in this round of 8 up against Maelstrom. Okay, it looks as though we do have the game is back up, as you guys can see. Hopefully those connection issues have sorted themselves out and we can resume.
All right, well, right now we do see that they are just pushing on out, removing that Abathur hat from the minions, as the minions do in fact fall. Top Shrine being held by Cloud9 Maelstrom. Bottom Shrine currently being controlled by Zeveron, but the pressure is there from Dunktrain on Uther.
Don't quite have the crowd control to pull this off, I would say, but if they find themselves in a good position, especially with Muradin, Jaina and Sylvanas both have the Envenom, so we saw this play out pretty well in some of the previous games, but having that double Envenom can allow for some very aggressive early game plays.
All right, well, right now we do see that it was briefly in favor of Cloud9 for both of them. The Condemn just pulling in the minions to eliminate them to the best of their ability. Level 5 to level 5, pretty passive game. Both teams really respecting each other when it comes to fighting over those shrines.
Okay, and actually, Keiwan Pro getting quite a bit of damage, and Dunktrain on the Uther with the Hammer of Justice. This actually is going to force out the Haunting Wave, of course, for Sylvanas to be able to back out. So a little bit of skirmishes back and forth between these teams.
Yeah, the Condemn was like really nice there. If Uther was a little bit closer, the stun could have been a follow-up, but iDream really forcing Kailas back in the top lane, winning it rather convincingly with the Abathur hat. Fury is now in a very dicey situation, going to have to fall back, but it looks like the damage coming out to Dunktrain will be enough. That is going to be the first takedown of the game.
Yes, it will. And so Zeveron perhaps off to a very, very nice start. I would say the rotations and the lane soak was a little bit stronger for Maelstrom up until this point, but that takedown goes a long way.
It really does. Fury getting a Dwarf Toss over that wall to get back to safety, push these minions back. We do see the promote picked up on Tassadar. That's just going to give a little bit more pressure in the middle lane or wherever Tassadar happens to be at that moment.
Okay, we're going to continue to see these rotations to have control of these shrines. We saw how important that was in the previous series, and it looks as though, I got to say, Zeveron is representing very, very heavily in the bottom lane.
Yeah, they constantly just have that pressure down there. It looks like they might want to get additional damage done. Bottom lane, often worth fighting for, more considering that there are 2 packs of Giants and a pack of Bruisers that do exist in that lane. So if there's a lane to win, that's probably the most favorable one. Caffeine is going to get the first Dragonite of the game.
He was able to get the rotation ahead of Fury and weren't able to get the stall onto that. All you need to do is just a little bit of damage to the hero that is channeling that. But this is going to not be really so much structural damage in terms of forts, but what we will very likely see is rotations just to take out the towers. They want to catapult that experience lead they have moving forward so they can win that race to level 10 to get the heroics.
Yeah, the Dragonite gets more powerful as the game goes on. Early in the game, it has a very small health pool, which is why you see him just kind of staying back, using the Dragon Breath, smacking away when he has the freedom to, but once he does have a hero like Sylvanas pressuring him, he's just going to rotate down to the middle lane and work on those structures as well.
Yep, just continuing to apply that safe structure pressure because, again, like you mentioned, the health pool isn't very heavy, and we see Fury actually looking to just try to get a little bit of a flank. He will get punted for his troubles and is unsuccessful in trying to set up for a takedown in Caffeine.
Yeah, madtimmy being pushed back, just doing his best to maintain the push that does exist from Tassadar. Pretty passive play, just the single takedown right now, but the experience very close in favor of Cloud9 having the superior soak and damage dealt by that Dragonite.
Yeah, we do have the cleanse that was picked up for Uther at level 7, as you might expect. So that, of course, makes your hero completely unstoppable, whichever hero you end up targeting. It removes any CCs that are currently on that hero and makes them unstoppable for an entire second. So that can actually make for some very, very clutch support plays later on.
Yeah, if you have something like a Stormbolt coming out from Meriden to lock you down, or the roots in your path, you can completely prevent that from stopping you. Very big plays. Level 10 about to be hit by Cloud9 Maelstrom. What do we have for those heroics?
Okay, we do have the Divine Shield, as we would expect, and the Archon Blessed Shield, Hinterland's Blast, and Abathur's really starting to think about this a little bit. It is going to be the Evolve Monstrosity. Whoa. Because honestly, there aren't any super strong talent or heroes to copy with the Ultimate Evolution.
So Evolved Monstrosity, of course, in Heroes of the Storm, each hero has 2 heroic abilities that you can choose from. This basically makes a super minion that you can control using the Symbiote ability. You can see him there being controlled by the Hat of Abathur. He's walking it back, but it can farm up minions, get more powerful if it does stay alive for a long period of time.
Sure, and it just provides that distraction all across the map as well. We talked about that, and you also got to couple this in with the Tassadar, the promote, and that can set yourself up for quite a bit of just all over the map things that Zeveron has to respond to constantly.
Yeah, but they did manage to take it off now, so we will be on cooldown for a fair amount of time. This does, in some ways, reduce Cloud9 Maelstrom's capability to team fight. That's basically a heroic they don't have. If you go with the Ultimate Evolution, you get 2 heroes, 2 Illidan's, 2 Kerrigans, whatever you happen to want in that fight. Not an option here in this game.
Oh, a little bit of a fight breaking out in the bottom lane. Some minions in the wave that were soaking up that Stormbolt, and just a bit of skirmishing back and forth. Wow, you can actually see the power of the Abathur. Yes, with that pressurized gland, is able to just do so much AoE.
But they're holding back this 5-man push while they have people in all 3 lanes. Abathur soaking the middle lane, Falsehead soaking the top lane. Their experience, they now have a full level lead just because of this global presence that they have available. That's a big deal, Kubi.
Very, very good points. But before, hopefully, a fight breaks out, I want to quickly run through Zeveron's heroic abilities. And of course, they're going to make it quite difficult for him. We do have the Tranquility, the Avatar, Phoenix, Wailing Arrow, and of course the Water Elemental was picked up.
It's a lot of damage. They definitely have the favorable damage on their side. If they can catch someone like iDream with all of those abilities, he will absolutely get decimated. But Divine Shield, a quick reaction from Uther, could save the day.
So Zeveron is really trying to match this pressure in the bottom lane, but like you mentioned, things are going to start slipping out of their control with that soak, especially with the Abathur in the middle lane. So something that's going to have to be very, very careful. And if they're going to continue doing this with the 5-man pressure in the bottom lane, they're going to have to get decisive and pick a fight.
Yeah, I mean, every single moment they stay down here, they're losing out on experience across the map. Abathur and Falsehead continuing to soak and do structural damage. I mean, this fort is going to fall at this rate. And this is iDream's having a blast up here. He's like, all right, you're going to let me do this? This is just going to give my team so much experience. Now we have a talent advantage.
Would you say iDream's having a Hinterland's Blast
up
there?
Oh,
got him!
Oh, CauthonLuck is about to be Hinterland's Blast if he's not careful. Falsehead flies down into the middle of the map. A big Wailing Arrow goes down into Uther. Does he have the shield? Yes, gets it just the last possible moment. Good quick reaction from Dunktrain, and we do see that Tassadar going to have to back on out.
but so many HP pools are really, really low for Cloud9 Maelstrom. They will be forced to back up. I think they're going to have to relinquish the key, but no! Oh, it gets stunned out at the last second. Well played from Fury, able to stun out that Hinterland's Blast. That would have been a big deal, and for sure, a dropped hero on the side of Zeveron. Regardless, they are able to keep those up. Jaina is alive at the last second. Of course, this is going to mean a fort, but meanwhile, in the top lane, we do have the Monstrosity continuing to push forward.
Yeah, man, that was such a good Storm Bolt out of Muradin, though, saving the day, stopping the Hinterland's Blast. This just shows how evenly matched these two teams are, playing at this highest level here in the June North American Open. I'm loving these games, Kubi.
So much fun. But level 13, of course, was struck for Cloud9 Maelstrom. They do have that superior soak for the time being, but Cloud9 looks as though they have the moment of map control. We do see another really nice Storm Bolt, but can he stay around long enough to stall this? It doesn't look like it. Keiwan Pro will be able to net his team. Cloud9 Maelstrom, another Dragon Knight.
Gotta hand it to Abathur with the Evolved Monstrosity, just providing that big distraction in the top lane, pushing it out almost all the way back to that keep wall. That just bought them enough time to control both of those shrines and pick up that Dragon Knight. Very well done, and they are pushing further ahead in the experience in this game number 2.
A little bit more survivability for Johanna. We see the Spell Shield picked up, and it's actually going to just be continual abilities that are being traded into for the Symbiote. So we're looking to continue to see that style where you're throwing the hat down perhaps onto Johanna with the tankiness and just get so much damage in on those team fights. We might have seen something like a push style, especially with the Evolved Monstrosity. Not going to be the case here.
Yeah, but the big rotation coming down here from Zeveron, just wanting to force them back from that bottom lane. We see the Phoenix being used by Kael'thas, but the Dragon Knight will succeed in taking out the middle fort. 2 down at this point in time, while all 3, or excuse me, only 2 still stand on the side of Cloud9 Maelstrom.
The experience really lately has just been running away for Cloud9 Maelstrom. They find themselves up 2 levels. More importantly, they're ever closer to the level 16 talent tier. They will find themselves getting a large power spike at that point in time.
All right, Equinox going back to base. He doesn't know what's happening. He just wants to make sure he can push back all of those lanes, specifically that top one. And we do see that the Giants are being collected on the side of Maelstrom. Giants for each team at this point in time will be collected, and that Monstrosity should fall rather quickly, but Abathur trying to back it on up.
Of course, yes, Abathur can take control of the Monstrosity by using that Symbiote ability and walk it away and just create more problems for Zeveron that they have to deal with. You can see that if they have to dedicate Sylvanas entirely to this top lane where there isn't even a complete hero, that's going to be a win for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just a big thorn in your side, having to have to clean up that Monstrosity. It's there, not only is it doing damage, but it's soaking experience for you when you have the hat on it. So it's just such a nice bit of utility on that team that they're making great use out of.
For sure. It's so much more sustained for Johanna coming forward. We talked about the spell shield, but she has amplified healing. She has holy renewal. All of these things are going to make it impossible to kill in these team fights. And so we can really look to see some aggressive Johanna play and just really setting up for those Hinterlands Blasts. We've seen that in the past. Honestly, the Condemn, if you can grab a couple of heroes with that Condemn ability and line that up with the Hinterlands Blast, that can make for some very devastating combos.
But there goes the Blessed Shield, hitting 3 targets. Condemn pulling into the Hinterlands Blast. Does line up. It does hit the Malfurion, but the Tranquility healing him up nicely. One member goes down. The defense could happen, but man, it's not looking good, Kubi.
Yes, they have to be careful trying to prioritize Malfurion in those fights because he does have Ice Block, so they need to try to find ways to get madtimmy away from the rest of the team because Ice Block and Tranquility will persist while the Ice Block is in effect, and that can get you so much healing that you can't stop as the enemy team.
Falstad showing off his global presence with that fly. iDream going to push that top lane back while the rest of the team captures these bruises, but Zeveron, they suspect this might be the case. Going to try to rotate in. They're playing a little bit too passively. They don't make it there in time.
But they did get some wind of this ahead of time, so they're pretty aware of the positioning for Cloud9 Maelstrom at this point, just sort of waiting for Kael'thas to get back up as we did see him taken down in that last fight. What is going to be Zeveron's next play? I think, personally, I would like to see them just try to play as passively as possible, but they have this Dragon Knight in their face. They need to get level 16.
Picked up here. Keiwan Pro going to be in the Dragon Knight once more, and it seems like they are constantly on the back foot. 16 still not there, like you mentioned, and they're just marching on in.
The third Dragon Knight for Cloud9 Maelstrom, and like we mentioned earlier, these things start to scale up more and more, get more HP. They do more damage to structures as the game goes on. You can already see they're doing 680 damage per swing to those structures. That's so difficult to deal with, and it requires the full attention from Zeveron.
They're marching in, the walls are down, the gates are open, and they are pushing towards this middle keep. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to defend this, but the Dragon Knight actually doing a pretty good job with it. Just the range, level 16 has been hit.
Yes.
So phase damage just goes up quite a bit with Ignite.
That's something that's a big deal to talk about. Kael'thas does hit that huge power spike at level 16 with the Ignite, so something to look forward to. This might be the turning point for Zeveron.
All right, well, they're going to try to fight this back. They haven't lost that keep yet. That's when things start to get dicey when you lose the keep. Monstrosity as a distraction in the bottom lane. Suddenly, this has become a split push with a 3-level advantage in favor of Cloud9. Fury popping the avatar in the face of the enemy team. He's going for it. A nice wailing arrow does going hit 3 targets, but there's no response to it.
Yes, the chase, and meanwhile, the Dragon was starting to put some structural damage onto the keep, but of course, it's Keiwan Pro on the Tassadar. He will be able to get out with that dimensional shift, so we see a few heroics were spent on the side of Zeveron, and they might not get anything for it.
Ooh, Kona Cold with that root was enough to actually pick off the Monstrosity, so the heroic of Abathur has been removed, but Dunktrain forces them off, stealing these Giants. We see Ice Block used on madtimmy, the Shrink Ray locking him down, KingCaffeine with the body blocks. That will be a takedown in favor of Cloud9.
Very, very well played, and this is going to signify some even more pressure. They already have this keep down to half HP, and they're looking to try to close out its duration.
Cloud9 is looking so on point right now. Their play is crisp, and they're forcing Fury back. This middle keep is going to go down, and Cloud9 will just back on now to get more map control.
Yes, Zeveron has to be very, very careful. If they lose any more heroes at this point, it could be incredibly detrimental, something that would be very difficult to come back from, losing multiple keeps in a row. Level 20, the Storm Talents have just been hit for Maelstrom at this point. They find themselves so far ahead in experience.
Oh, they don't want to stop the aggression
Why?
with those
They
Storm
shouldn't.
Talents. They're pushing down this bottom lane to take out the keep. Half its health has been removed. The Giants sieging it up. The double Abathur hat. We can see the spikes just wailing away. It's a barrage of damage.
Epic Mount was taken for Falset. I love to see this ability used. It just basically reduces the cooldown of the flight ability for Falset, but more importantly, he flies further and he flies way faster, so he can put himself into crazy positions in the back line to try to flank, to try to pick off enemy members in the back line, or just to position himself better for Hinterland's Blast.
Once the airlines figure out how to incorporate Hinterland's, or excuse me, Epic Mount onto their airlines, I am going to ride that airline
if they can
every
fly me
time.
across the country faster, I'm all for that. Are you kidding me?
All right, well, we see the mercenary camps being cleaned up across the map. Right now, we have the Bruisers still available, and the Shrines will be spawning in 5 seconds. Working on those right side Bruisers is Zeveron, but do they catch wind of this?
Look
No.
at the confidence from Maelstrom. They're all split up across the map. I mean, they know what's the one way that we can start to throw this game away, and that's, of course, having members out across the map and, you know, just getting picked off one by one with those takedowns, but they're so confident in their positioning. They know exactly where Zeveron is, and they're going to pick up their 4th Dragonite in a row.
This is going to be so hard to defend. That bottom keep is down to just a sliver of health. The middle keep already has been removed. This Dragonite, it's actually just going for the experience. They're playing very passively right now.
Yeah, and they're just trying to make sure that they're not, again, overstaying their welcome a little bit. I would be pretty much okay with them trying to get more aggressive. They have that level 20 advantage, but you have to consider that is a missing heroic out of the kit. And while the siege damage is very good from the Dragon, the utility in terms of team fighting, probably not as strong as it would be, especially if you consider that Tassadar was in the fight.
Yeah, just opening up that wall for the Monstrosity to do its work in the top lane. Middle lane, though, the aggression is here. Johanna getting quite low. Unstoppable comes out, using that Iron Hide to stay alive. They're pushing in. We do see the Flame Strike just really starting to pick apart those minions from long range, but this is still another 30 seconds remaining on the Dragonite.
Yeah, honestly, Caffeine on the Johanna, she has the Indestructible talent as well. All that support from Uther. She's got the Amplified Healing. It's going to be so difficult to take her down in any of the team fights, and it's working exactly as intended. They have their hat on it, just being a complete nuisance.
15 seconds left on this Dragonite. They're starting to work on the core after 2 keeps have been removed. I believe the Monstrosity did in fact fall in the top lane, but K1 Pro on that Dragonite in the face of the enemy team. The Wailing Arrow goes out. Caffeine getting very, very low. The Blessed Shield hitting 3 targets, but is it enough? Tranquility forcing them back.
So much was absorbed by Caffeine there, and he still has the Indestructible talent, so he's willing to take all of that damage, and look how quickly he's healing back up with that Holy Renewal ability. K1 Pro in the Archon. He needs to make sure he stays alive. He's able to get the Dimensional Shift just in time, is able to sort of dodge the rest of that shot of the Living Bomb. This will be retreat for the time being for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
But they did eliminate that bottom keep with the pressure. They got a lot of experience from the top lane, and the core is at 70% health. So the Dragonite did get a fair amount of damage done, but only 2 takedowns on the side of Cloud9 and 1 on the side of Zeveron. It's been a crazy game.
For sure. sure. I mean, at the very least, I mean, we've seen so few takedowns in the game, so I want to say that getting to level 20 is important for Zeveron. Very likely, though, they're just going to get a lot of mobility between Malfurion and Kayla and Jaina, and it hasn't really been their backline being out of position. They just haven't been able to find the right opportunities to take fights because, as we mentioned, it's so difficult to take any of the members of Cloud9 Maelstrom down, and we've just been seeing that Biceps positioning has been so on point. Probably the only member of the team that you might have a chance to take down quickly.
That's very true. I got to hand it to him just for that very, passive play. This super defensive composition working out so far for Cloud9. Level 20 about to be hit by Zeveron. This will give them those storm talents, but is it too little too late? The pressure is coming in. Blessed Shield going down to the condemned hit release blast does connect, and the Furion will be removed immediately. Without those heals, I don't know how they're going to survive.
That's
this.
brilliant. Sprint has been popped for Jaina trying to get out of the fight. We do see the silence goes down, but hold on a second. Uther does have the redemption. He was able to heal Caffeine up a lot, and this is actually a really bad position, but oh my goodness, we do see a lot of damage with that Flame Strike being thrown down. This will again signify more retreats from Cloud9 Maelstrom, so they're able to pick up another takedown, but it's not necessarily netting them the win. Zeveron is holding on.
They're holding on, but Malfurion is still down for another 30 seconds where Uther did in fact respawn. iDream, a bit of a disconnect. He's back in. We're still good. Moving on here with this game. iDream going to be flying to that top shrine where there are in fact shrines spawning, and if they get this Dragonite, I don't think the defense will work.
It's going to be difficult. We're pushing 20 minutes into this game. The Dragonites, of course, they continue to scale more and more, and Maelstrom knows they can just be passive. They can set themselves up to get this Dragonite and start to wail away at the core. It's already down to 64%. Doesn't even have all of its shields back up.
Falstead using the epic mount to fly on in. They have all 5 members to push, and they are going to go for the core. We see Mercenaries in the top lane, the Dragonite in the bottom lane. Cloud9 has the aggression.
I need to see something really aggressive from Zeveron at this point. They have 4 Bolts of the Storm. They need to find that key to the positioning to get up the back line, and we do end up seeing Sylvanas go down. Was not able to get the Bolt off in time. This is going to really signal Cloud9 Maelstrom to look to finish the game.
Yes, the Dragonite is just going to ignore the team, start wailing away. The shields are falling quickly. We're at the 20-minute mark, so the Dragonite is so strong. Caffeine's getting low, but we see the shields coming out, staying alive. There's the Unstoppable, staying alive for this entire duration, and GG, Cloud9 Maelstrom taking game number 1 over Zeveron.
That's right, the Dragonite was able to stay alive, so well done to Cloud9 Maelstrom for taking that 1-0 victory over Zeveron. Really well played. They showed that they knew the map objective to a T. They made full advantage of it, never overextending in any of those situations, and they reaped a victory out of it.
Now, it's rather astounding that, back at draft, we said, all right, where's the damage for these teams? That last pick, Falstead, and it had a little bit of a thinking time there. It's just like Brightwing Tassadar, we've seen that a lot, to promote the mobility. But this round, Falstead. Why? Because they needed a damage deer. But it's that flight trait of his, that passive mount. He can fly from zone to zone. You saw him do a lot of split pushing there as well. He was off in another lane. He was flying into the team fights. He was still a big asset for the damage, for the burst. You saw the Hinterlands Blast just do amazing things when coordinated well. But a lot of the big fights there wasn't really that many. This was a big rinse and repeat of push, get the dragon, push, get the dragon, and it just wore down Zeveron very, very nicely.
We can see that it is currently a 1-0 advantage in this matchup. If we take a look at the scorecard, this is Cloud9 versus Zeveron. Man, that Zeveron logo is so very attractive. And in this best-of-3 series, being up 1-0, that's got to feel good.
Oh, for sure. Maelstrom is feeling confident, and, we're looking to see Maelstrom bouncing back from those 3-0 losses that they had to Tempest Storm in the most recent tournaments. I got to say, that looked good. They had a different composition in the sense that, like Jester was mentioning, there was a very small amount of damage, but, this was a very low takedown game. 4-4 at the end, and only because so many of those heroes were taken down in the final push. So regardless of there not being that many takedowns, they knew the advantage they had. They pressed with it, took the objectives, and were able to take it to victory.
All right, so speaking of victory, of course, we did just see Cloud9 win. But let's take a little bit of a look a bit earlier in the game, and this is just a little bit before. Now, something to notice here, 16-14. There's not a lot of takedowns there on this battleground, but the level advantage is real. And the big thing that you're going to be looking for here is this Johanna. She's going to be going right in here with a divine, with her Blessed Shield. It's going to just kind of do a lot of things that the Blessed Shield does, which is just bounce around and do a bunch of damage. And then from there, it's going to be all about this Falstad, the squiggly Hinterlands Blast, and they combo very nicely. Not only do they have the control, but they got the burst damage, so if you look at how this is about to go down, boom, Blessed Shield. In comes that Falstead, and here comes the Hinterlands. They didn't even really need it for the Kalthas, but the control, the mentality, the structure of their communication, it was all on point. And Mad Timmy in the back with that Tranquility. Unfortunately, you cannot heal those that have been taken down. So it's a bad situation. They're already down in the levels. They continually got picked off a little bit there at the end of it, but that solid early lead because of these promote tactics with the one Tassadar and then the split pushing with the Falstead. Also, the Monstrosity. You saw some really fancy footwork there. It's a very different style than what we saw. It kind of confused me a little bit at draft, but wow, did it ever produce results.
I mean, that's the power of split soaking. We've seen it time and time again. Once you fall behind, it's so hard to catch back on up.
For sure. Okay, if you guys want to jump into the action, head on over to heroesofthestorm.com. Of course, it is a free-to-play game. Game just launched earlier this month, and everybody can join in. Get your friends playing this game. It is a ton of fun, as you can see with these games.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for game number 1. We're going to set up the second match of this best-of-3 series between Cloud9 Maelstrom and Zeveron. We'll be back in just a few.
World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor, rated teen.
Welcome back, everyone, to the North America June Open. I am Corey Kubi Hover, joined by my co-commentator, Solid Jake Kalinsky, and our analyst has been doing an excellent job thus far, Sean Forecourt Jester Delaney.
Man, we've seen some crazy games today, all kinds of composition. We've seen Kerrigan highly prioritized, Illidan, Zeratul banned out. It's like the dawn of the melee assassins, Jester.
And it's been that way for a little bit now. Throughout all the top 128, the 64, 32, down to 16, and then 8, just repeatedly. We saw Zeratul's, Illidan's, Kerrigan's. Haven't seen an Illidan yet, crossing our fingers on that one. But you have seen a lot of propensity there for the Zeratul's, for the Kerrigans. And I mean, even we threw in an Asmodan, and now Evolved Monstrosity for the Abathur. Today is a day, my friends.
Yes, that's right. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at some of the players in that past game, particularly Dunktrain. I'm thinking, yes, there he is, of course. Let's look at Derek Arabian. We've talked to this guy quite a bit. He lives in Las Vegas, of course, graduated from high school and obtained an associate's degree from community college when he was 17. That's pretty young. He's a smart dude, I gotta say.
And he's known for actually blowing his train whistle whenever he has a great moment on his personal stream. Just goes, woo-hoo.
Hey, man,
choo,
you get the
dunk
train, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it fits really well. I like it. It's a fun little thing.
Where do I get a train whistle?
Probably the train store.
Oh, let's go to the train store.
No.
That's good. All right, well, on the other side, we actually have another card for Team Zeveron, CauthonLuck, one of the more notable players on the team. He's actually a former StarCraft 2 competitive gamer. He's from Washington, and he was an a cappella boy in band.
Wow, and once a child model for an amateur fashion magazine. I mean, I knew he was a pretty guy, but...
Dashing fellow,
now,
gotta say.
It's very well founded, my friends.
Gotta say, yeah, we saw some very, very strong Jaina play from him in the last game, but... I think it is time that we hop into game number 2. Of course, that is between Cloud9 Maelstrom and Zeveron, with Cloud9 Maelstrom up at that 1-0 victory.
But before we get into the game, let's take a look at the map. We're going to be playing on Cursed Hollow, the largest battleground here in the map pool. In Cursed Hollow, of course, that's going to be a 3-lane map. Much like most of the maps here in Heroes, not all of them, you can collect tributes to curse the opposing team. By collecting those tributes, when you gather 3, you will grant the curse, which reduces their minions down to 1 health and prevents their structures from fighting back. There are 6 mercenary camps here, 2 giants, 2 bruisers, and 2 golems. Those golems can just be a massive impact for your team if you manage to collect them, providing you just additional options across the map. If you do curse your enemy team, get all those mercenary camps, well, you're going to be looking pretty good towards victory.
Yeah, I got to say, we saw some really, really awesome matches on this, particularly the very first game of the day between those 2 teams, PPST and, of course, Team Blaze. So I'm expecting to see no less of an awesome match here today between these 2 teams. And there it is, Cloud9 Maelstrom and Zeveron. Of course, Maelstrom, with that 1-0 victory, they're sitting strong. They're sitting confident. And this is, honestly, that last game, that was like the Maelstrom that we're used to seeing, maybe about a couple weeks back. So I'm really looking forward to see how this tournament shapes up, especially, honestly, all of these teams that we've been seeing in a little bit of slump thus far, they've been really looking strong. They've been practicing hard, and that makes me so excited to see all of the strong teams in NA bringing everything to the battlefield.
I mean, we saw a 3-level lead at one point for Maelstrom. We're going to see what Zeveron can do to bounce back in the draft here for game number 2 on Cursed Hollow.
So big things I would expect here for a big first pick mentality is going to be the Sylvanas, the Jaina, the Kael'thas. There's a lot of small spaces in and amongst the jungle areas where we are going to have the tributes spawning. And at the same time, Zeratul, I think, is even higher priority than an Illidan on this one. So it's not a surprise that Zeveron's going to say, we're going to... No Abathur for you at all. We're not going to let you combo with Johanna. We're not going to let you combo with a melee, DPS whatsoever. He is just out.
What's crazy about the Abathur, especially being out of it, is they felt so... weak against it because there wasn't even a strong hero to pair with it. Johanna's great, but no Illidan, no Zeratul. I mean, that just goes to show how strong that composition was from Maelstrom in the last game. But the second ban going out for Maelstrom, it is going to be on Sylvanas.
Yeah, of course, Sylvanas a massive hero, but that's going to leave the gates open for Jaina to be that first assassin. Let's actually take a quick look at Jaina just to explain why she's such a powerful hero in this game. Now, of course, she has Frostbolt. That applies a slow. She also has Blizzard. Rains down on you. It applies a slow. Cone of Cold.
Hold on,
Cone
I got
AoE.
this.
What does it do?
Provides a slow.
Oh my goodness. So much control on the battlefield from that trait, the Frostbite. She's just such a powerful mage, and man, she's just so fun to play too.
Yeah, she really is. She provides so much control in the game with all those slows. Yeah, since you can pair them all together, it provides so much control over the fights, and just the damage output, like you mentioned, is great. Johanna, once again, going to be the first pick for Cloud9 Maelstrom, and they're going to pair that with a Brightwing.
All right, so Dunktrain getting his favorite Brightwing. It is his most played hero in these qualifiers for himself. But Johanna Brightwing. Johanna, if you cannot afford to get into a Kerrigan or a Zeratul Illidan, she just controls the battlefield so very well. Condemn, unstoppable. You're looking at the level 20, indestructible there as well. It is really hard to get rid of her. And you know what? They might have actually seen this because with that Brightwing Johanna, those are really good counters to control this Kerrigan pick.
But Kerrigan plus Jaina, Kerrigan pulls you in, and then the Blizzard rains down on top of you with that Cone of Cold that we just talked about. The damage output's ridiculous. Now Tassadar, what else does he have?
Of course, he does have the promote as well, and he's got the strong damage with the storm, the shields, everything. So I like the composition thus far, but what I'm really sort of going to be a little bit picky about is the map. And this composition really is... played a little bit better to smaller maps, right? And Cursed Hollow is very large. So we'll see if they're able to get these rotations through. We do see the first ban going, or in the second wave, the first ban is going to be Uther on Cloud9 Maelstrom's side.
Yes. This is smart just because they already have Brightwing, right? Banning out Uther, that means both cleanses that exist in this game are either taken or removed by Cloud9.
And you don't want to throw that Divine Shield on top of the Kerrigan either. That initiation just gets really scary when you can't fight back. But Kael'thas is going to be out there as well, so those big first pick, first ban potentials I was talking about, all 3 of them now have been dealt with, either banned or picked on the map, which is going to lead us once more to probably iDream here on Falstead.
Yeah, we could see iDream on Falstead. Biceps is known to play this hero as well, so there's a lot of flexibility with the team, and they're just trying to fill out their damage, and there it is. Zeratul, there's the pick.
That's the Tassadar kind of coming back to Zeveron right there.
Sure, yep.
Yeah, so the Tassadar there. All right, so this Johanna plus Falstad, the Hinterlands Blast with the Condemn on Johanna. You pull them all into that just clump, just blow them up with the Hinterlands Blast, and Zeratul just blinks in there, cleaves, gets out. Oh, it's so clean. It's so nice to watch those combos.
Maybe we will see Emerald Wind again. off for the Brightwing? That would be
possible. But
so much
Rhaegar, the first game of the day, my favorite hero in the game, Ancestral Healing, one of the big things. Let's actually take a look at Rhaegar, considering we haven't seen him all day today. Now, he has Chain Heal. That's just it hits 3 targets at once or bounces between 3 targets. Lightning Shield, damage around one of your allies, but also can provide shielding. And Earth Totem, the Earthbind Totem, you throw it on the ground, slows them down. But the cool thing about him is his wolf form.
The wolf form, of course. And if you take damage while in this trait, this is, of course, your mount. You don't actually get dismounted like every other hero, so it gives him a lot more mobility. But really the big thing about Rhaegar is the Ancestral Healing. We see this time and time again, and it has saved so many heroes from the brink of death. And I think this will be no exception trying to keep the Kerrigan alive.
Well, it's going to be the Kerrigan. They still need a warrior. I'd expect the Mirror God to come out, and there he is. Mirrodin will be there, and he has a lot of survivability. Add that to an Ancestral. He should be able to help control this battlefield, especially Zeratul, especially Falstad, so that Kerrigan can get in and do those combos so that Jaina can land her big damage burst by the end of it as well. Rhaegar, Tassadar, man, that is a good setup for any melee.
That is true. And I was just about to ask, where are the Vikings? Are you kidding me? Such a
got lost.
large map, and there it is.
They got
It
lost.
makes so much sense to see the Vikings picked up. That is going to be the composition for both teams heading into game number 2.
Now, Lost Vikings, of course, they just free you up to throw 4 heroes at the tributes to contest that while the Vikings soak 2 lanes at once. It's a massive potential to have on this map. We saw the power on Dragonshire, but this is going to be our first time seeing it unfold here on Cursed
Yeah,
Hollow.
I think it makes a lot of sense on this map too. We got to factor in the tribute, of course, how the map works as well. And if you can provide distractions for an opportunity for the rest of your team to stall out while you're soaking that experience, so strong.
So just as a final note before we jump into the game, something here that, again, just kind of looks to me here for Cloud9 Maelstrom. They got the Fly with the Falstad. They have a Phase Shield, which is another mobility with Brightwing, and now they can actually soak up to 2 or 3 lanes at once with that Vikings. This is going to be a very similar comp, I think, that we just saw in terms of they're going to use that split soak advantage, use the promotes that they can, and just try to control the battlefield, get a level advantage, and then from there, use superior numbers to force down the enemy. So that's kind of how I feel that this has gone once more. And again, I'm actually rather surprised at these kind of comps.
For sure, but let's not delay any more. Good points, Jester, but let's get into game number 2 between these two teams. It's going to be Cloud9 Maelstrom, of course, and Zeveron.
All right, guys. Well, on the blue side of the map, once again, that's going to be Cloud9. Dunktrain on Brightwing, Falstad played by Biceps. Cloud9, iDream will be on Zeratul. Caffeine rocking the Warrior. That's Johanna and K1 Pro playing Eric, Balog, and Olaf, the Lost Vikings.
And on the right side of the map, this is going to be Zeveron. They need this win so they can advance further. We have Fury on Muradin in the top lane. CauthonLuck is going to be on Tassadar, rotating with Faye, who's going to be playing Jaina. Equinox on the Kerrigan, and madtimmy, of course, rounding out the support role with Rhaegar.
That's the Reindeer Rhaegar, the most fashionable Rhaegar in the entire game. Looks so quite nice for him. All right, well, both teams setting up party bushes. Actually, they both have the same exact idea. Equinox looking around with that Kerrigan, the strong initiation paired with his allies, Jaina, and of course, Tassadar. A lot of damage potential if they do manage to lock them down
Very good point. We have actually a little bit, but of course, that is Johanna. Very, very difficult to take down in that scenario. So just going to show the power of the hero, but what is going to be the setup play for the Vikings? Thus far, we do see that 2-1 split with Olaf in the middle lane, the rest of the Vikings in the bottom lane, and that is going to provide so much soak experience.
It's just such an advantage having that crazy kind of mobility, but the way that Zeveron can handle this is just getting the pickoffs. That's why they're rotating around very aggressively with the Kerrigan and Jaina, just trying to find anyone that might be traveling between lanes or a little bit too far forward in their respective lane.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, and as you mentioned, we do see those rotations going up to the mid lane. Maybe we see the Cloud9 Biceps has a bit overextended, but no, it's just going to be Fury, of course, who doesn't have any other heroes to back him up. But, just sort of putting some fear in his boots.
Fear in his boots. Man, I would love to have some sweet boots to put fear in. All right, well, right now in the top lane, it's Biceps just sitting there on Falstad, tapping the well, making sure he's nice and healthy when he does push on out to the middle portion of the map. Equinox and Faye both rotating around, trying to find those targets to pick off, but Cloud9, they're just playing very safe right now.
So we see that the Muradin, of course, that is going to be Fury, has sort of already decided there's not enough auto attackers on the enemy team for me to bother taking the Reverberation Talent, so we're probably going to see Muradin spec completely into that Storm Bolt with the perfect Storm and the Piercing Bolt at level 7.
And the first tower of the game is actually going to fall rather early, just using that aggression in the middle. But Brightwing using that polymorph onto Jaina, forcing her into the back line. The Vikings getting quite low. It is going to be one going out. Primalgrass does connect with Eric, but he will be able to back out. But with False Head rotating down, I think it's going to be Kerrigan falling next.
Yes, Caffeine with a great positioning is able to sort of block out the ability to go into that gate. And right off the bat, we do see some very, very nice plays from Cloud9 Maelstrom.
All right, well, right now, we see the rotations have come across the map. 1 to 0.25 on the board for both teams in terms of the takedowns. And the first tribute is going to be spawning in just about 10 seconds.
So we do have a promote for either side, just something to note, so that we can see that they are...
That was the sickest round.
You like that? I know that you would pick up on that one. That's good. But you mentioned we do, of course, have that tribute in the top lane. But Cloud9 Maelstrom, they do have some of that mobility and might come into play here. Like Jester was mentioning, with the fly on Falstad and the phase shift for Brightwing.
Yeah, utilizing that global presence to get in there. But Fury is channeling it quite nicely. The Primal Grass pulling them in. The combo, iDream's going to fall to Envenom, and they did get the tribute. This is big for Zeveron.
Yes, that sets him up very well for the rest of these tributes, but they're not done yet. KingCaffeine getting pulled in, and the unkillable Johanna gets taken down. And the remaining members, we still have the Vikings soaking across the map, of course. That is going to be really what is keeping Maelstrom in the game experience-wise. They're only finding themselves down maybe about a quarter level.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that was really nicely done, just showing their dominance over that fight on the tribute. That's what they need to do. They need to win the tributes to counteract this global presence that Cloud9 has. And if they are able to do so, the curse is going to push them into an advantageous position. And once they hit those heroics, it's going to be great.
Yeah, really the name of the game for Maelstrom is to just delay as much as possible, especially when these tributes pop up, because they know they have that soak advantage. Look, they're down 1 1/4 takedowns at this point, but their experience is dead even.
It really is. I mean, actually, just about perfect. All right, well, we see that these tributes, or these towers are falling rather quickly. No ammunition left. 2 went down there to the aggression. Second tribute spawning in the middle of the map on the side of Zeveron in their favor. Do they force Cloud9 back and take this themselves? Rhaegar will not be in this battle.
Any of these tributes that Maelstrom takes without the presence of Zeveron is going to be a huge, huge win. More than you would think normally, because, of course, with the Vikings soaking, that should catapult them really, really far forward. And the more they can stall to not having to deal with the curse before level 10, that's the name of the game for Maelstrom.
Equinox zones Caffeine back, allowing Fury to capture 2 tributes. It's 2-0. Rhaegar never rotated up, so they've actually been soaking alongside these Vikings, keeping up in experience, which is rather crucial for them at this point in time.
Yes, both teams now have their level 7 talents. We can talk a little bit about Zeratul. This build, of course, that'll be played by iDream, and is going to be the focused attack and follow through. So we're going to see a lot of emphasis on the auto attacks. And he also did grab Seasoned Marksman at level 1, which powers up your auto attack the more you see or around for soaking experience.
All right, we see the pings happening in the middle of the map. Right now, the Bruisers are being taken by Johanna and Zeratul on the left side of the map, and the bottom lane being pushed heavily by Zeveron. They're just wanting to make sure they keep these Vikings at bay, keep them locked down, because the next tribute is not far off.
Okay, yes, and we're starting to see quite a bit more pressure put onto these teams. Any lost team fights at this point would be very, very detrimental, of course, not only because you're falling behind in experience and on the map, but getting the other team closer to level 10, especially when this tribute is popping up for Zeveron, could be a big deal.
Falstad, Brightwing in the top lane. They do have the global presence to come help contest this tribute, and they absolutely must do so. Neither team has level 10. They're both trying to get there, but this tribute would grant a curse to the side of Zeveron. Fortunately for Cloud9, it's on their side of the map.
That's a very, very good point. We do see the continued split push across the map. They want to make sure they get the soaking, but with the Giants pushing down the bottom lane, there needs to be a response from Maelstrom.
All right, the block there, very nicely done by Biceps, allowing them to pick up that tribute that does prevent the curse from happening. Now they do have their heroics, both teams about to hit level 10.
Yes, and we do have the Blink Heal, the Longboat Raid, the Void Prison, the Blessed Shield. Falstad still thinking about it? I don't think it's going to be Mighty Gust. That'd be really awesome if it was. Very likely the Hinterland's Blast.
Yeah, I would imagine. So gooey. All right, well, Muradin making his way to the top lane. Zeratul going onto him, just passing by in his stealth mode, making sure that he doesn't reveal himself, but he's working as like just a mobile ward in a lot of ways.
And over on the Zeveron side, we do have Maelstrom, Archon, Water Elemental, Avatar, and of course, that Ancestral Healing that we were talking about before the game started.
Yeah, the largest single target heal in the entire game. Dunktrain does get hit by the Muradin, but he's going to be able to back up, tap the well, try to continue fighting here. Biceps going to have to dash over that wall, also tapping the well to make sure he's nice and healthy. And the tribute spawning in the bottom half of the map, they are going to have to contest this.
Yes, contested, but they have finding themselves with that experience lead at this point. Maybe they were looking to try to have more of a lead going into this, especially considering the Viking soak. So I got to give credit to Zeveron. They have been doing a great job counter-pushing. Not a lot of structural damage has been done, and madtimmy almost was able to channel that third tribute, which would have granted Zeveron a curse, but a nice shot from Eric's slingshot.
Yeah, Brightwing in the top lane doing it, but we do see that madtimmy did in fact capture the tribute here. Longboat raid being used, a phase shift of Brightwing coming down. The curse has been activated for Zeveron, but the aggression is here from Complexity, or excuse me, Cloud9, and we do see Ancestral Healing going on.
3v5, but this might be the opportunity that Zeveron is looking for to get aggressive. KingCaffeine is finding himself between the many best of the teams, and he was going to fall to that blizzard, and we do see the Maelstrom pop, not really able to get onto any members, but with the leap, the reset on the leap, and Dunktrain is able to use his blink heal to get away. Still, though, this affords a great opportunity to push for Zeveron.
That was really nicely done, just getting that pick off. That was Johanna. Remember, she's very hard to eliminate, but that was the target they went for. They're not afraid to try to remove anyone from these battles, and even though the curse was picked up in favor of Zeveron, well, Cloud9, they're doing a decent job dealing with it.
Yeah, it depends. There still is, of course, the 20 seconds remaining. I think Zeveron's going to be looking to try to get themselves an additional 4. Of course, they want to have that nice head start to get to level 13.
That was a nice blink onto Falset from Dunktrain. If he got hit by that Primal Grasp, he would have fallen for sure. Middle 4 starting to get quite low. Curse remaining for another 5 seconds. I'm not sure if they can do it. And Void Prison does go down, locking them in place.
Yeah, okay, we do see that is going to probably start the fight, but actually not a whole lot of fall. The Blessed Shield, Equinox is going to get that Ancestral Healing, but the Hinterland's Blast is almost able to take out CauthonLuck. He does have the Healing Ward to try to heal up the rest of his team, which can fall to that AoE damage, and we're going to see a full retreat. A lot of abilities spent, no one taken down.
I can't believe CauthonLuck stayed alive in that battle. Very, very close with the Hinterland's Blast, but man, just nicely done. Both teams battling it out. The fort still alive. Bottom fort did fall from that curse. Currently a 1-0 tribute advantage in favor of Cloud9.
Maelstrom they're sort of posturing around their golem. They don't quite have all the members down there, but you have to be careful when you're looking to take those bosses. It is a very highly contended point. It provides you a lot of push. You can fully expect that the enemy team will be keeping tabs on this to see when it is that you're looking to take this and contest it as much as possible.
Level 13 reached here by Cloud9 Maelstrom. Zeveron about to hit it themselves. What kind of talents are we seeing?
We do have actually the phase shield on the phase shift for Brightwing, so that's when she uses her phase shift, she does get a pretty sizable shield, so just a little bit more support. We have the spell shield once again for Johanna, making it so much more difficult to take her down in the fights. The Wormhole, now that's a big one. That's going to provide so much more opportunity for Zeratul to leap into the fight, throw down his abilities, get that focused attack follow through, and then get back out, because the Wormhole lets you cast Blink to the starting location again.
Zeveron is starting their boss on the top right side of the map. Cloud9 might be thinking this is an opportunity for them to contest it. Boss getting quite low, below half health. I'm not sure if this is the safest play. They're backing on out. They don't want to risk it.
Yeah, we talked about that. You just need to make sure you have the advantage before you try to go in to take the golem, and we can actually see that a little bit of a chase is starting to brew just below that. Equinox and crew are looking to try to get aggressive. That's the name of the game for Kerrigan.
Fury down there in the bottom, just throwing out the Stormbolt, trying to force them back, making sure he's there to flank. Brightwing is soaking with that global presence in the bottom lane, so this is going to help Cloud9. Just, again, they want to use and abuse their ability to be across the map as often as possible, soaking that experience, and that's exactly what they're doing when they force them off the boss.
Okay, another tribute has popped up. Not a critical tribute for either team, of course, just the 1-0 advantage thus far for Maelstrom. So I think Maelstrom is not really going to look to try to get too aggressive. Might be a bit much of a risk for something that's not going to net them a curse.
Oh, the shield didn't actually hit there. The blind not going to disrupt the capture of that tribute, but the damage is going off the Equinox again. Ancestral Healing is an option for Rhaegar. A nice condemn, pulling 3 targets in, but it's all about getting Brightwing that extra soak until the phase shift does happen.
Oh, and we do see the Hinterland's Blast was successful this time in taking Tassadar out, and that will get Cloud9 Maelstrom a very, very strong start to the fight. KingCaffeine just able to stay alive, does have the amplified healing. We see the Longboat raid putting a lot of pressure onto Zeveron, and it looks as though Jaina was trying to get the pick off, and will be successful on grabbing Johanna. That means that their control in these fights is now out. I would expect both these teams to probably back up at this point, 1 takedown to 1 takedown.
Yeah, very, very close. The Gust of Healing didn't really provide enough for Johanna to stay alive there in that fight. Dunktrain, of course, with that rotation. Still, 1-1, not terrible. The tribute did go the way of Zeveron. And wow, we do see the Vikings are getting picked apart in the bottom of the map.
Yes, that's very true. So what are these teams going to try to make use of to capitalize on this push? Doesn't look like a whole lot. We do see, of course, that split push. We got to talk about it again in the top lane. That is Brightwing and False that they at any point can rotate to their team to try to help apply some pressure, and they're doing just that, making full advantage of those heroes kits. And we see iDream just sort of sneaking by in the bush, just sort of peering around the corner. What you guys doing? What you guys doing? You trying to take that golem? I will be sure to let my team know that you're doing that.
Just going to relay that message via Owl, and well, we do have the Void Prison up and ready for action. So if Zeratul deems this a worthy opportunity, that big Blessed Shield, the special does go off onto Kerrigan to keep her alive. Blink Heal out of Dunktrain, keeping the team here. 2 Vikings making their way back to battle. Longbow Raid not an option right now.
Madtimmy just barely able to escape throughout the south side of that fight, and I think that, yes, with the healer, especially the Ancestral Healing having gone down, not the greatest of starts for the fight for Zeveron. No need for them to try to push their luck and move any further forward in that fight. I like the fact that they retreated.
Level 16 advantage in favor of Cloud9. That's going to allow them to pick up that tribute. 2-1 right now in their favor, and they're working on the boss very quickly while they have a single Viking in the middle lane, making sure they soak that. So this giving them the additional experience, giving them this pressure from the boss, exactly what they need to do right now.
Yes, and considering that Zeveron hadn't started their boss fight, usually when you catch wind of the fact that your enemy is taking the boss, you want to start your own. And it looks as though Jaina's sort of posturing, but this might actually give enough of an opportunity for Maelstrom to go up and take the aggressive boss. Having 2 bosses pushing down either lane could be a very difficult thing for Zeveron to deal with at this point.
I love this positioning. They throw Brightwing, who does have that phase shift, to go across the map with this boss to help it just push out, take care of those giants. Then they're posturing in the middle of the map saying, hey, we're either going to pressure you at your own boss, or we're going to fight you at your middle fort. Jump having to be used by Keiwan Pro on that Olaf. He is getting very low. The go coming out. Even the Norse Force at level 16, 1 minute cooldown talent going out.
Yeah, we had the Vikings sort of split up across the map. They weren't able to use that longboat raid to keep themselves alive. And like you mentioned, that Brightwing just continuing to split push across the map, just sort of setting up more and more promotes as they move forward. And it's something that Zeveron is going to have to deal with at some point.
This is permanent damage that's being done to their bottom lane, and it's a lot of damage too. They do pick up these bruisers, that's nice, and now they can fight over this tribute. This is crucial for them to defend, because if a curse happens with this boss down here, that could be devastating.
Okay, Biceps and crew looking to try to stall this tribute out as long as possible. Like you mentioned, the longer this boss is pushing, especially with the help from Brightwing, that's going to be even better. We did see the Void Person thrown down in the top lane, and actually the Hinterland's Blast gets stunned out. Biceps once again denied, and now CauthonLuck in the Archon looking to try to stall this Fury with the extra stun. Will Biceps be able to get out? He does get pulled in from Kerrigan. He is taken down. That's 2 heroes down now for Cloud9 Maelstrom. This might be what Zeveron needs to bounce back.
Oh no, Zeveron might have picked up the 2 takedowns, but they lost a keep for it. Yes, they'll get a tribute here, but that's not quite a curse. We do see the distraction here from Eric, popping that Norse Force and just running away. He does have the additional speed. I have to say, yes, that was a really nice play, but Cloud9, they still have the experience lead, more than a level, and they got a keep.
Yes, they got the keep out of it. But, however, Zeveron, they do have those 2 heroes down for some time on Cloud9 Maelstrom, and they're able to pick themselves up a golem. They don't have the most push on the top lane. Honestly, either team would be looking to take each other's golems, as weird as that seems to be. It doesn't happen too often, but still, they'll take the golem. That will get them some push, and taking those forts, they'll get them more experience to catch up.
Keiwan Pro with a pretty preemptive jump there. He might pay for it. We do see the longboat rate has been forced out. When it falls, they will be stunned for a second and a half. All 3 Vikings are gonna fall here. Oh, that is not good.
Yes, that's of course one of the changes to the longboat raid. If you are able to take it out before its duration is expired, the Vikings are stunned out for a second and a half, and that's why it was so easy for the remaining members of Zeveron to clean that up. And they're just continuing to find themselves more and more advantages all over the place.
I gotta say, I'm loving the Kerrigan play in all of these games today. They're being very proactive about holding on to their combo for those combos to come in. They waited for the jump, and as soon as it was used, it's like, all right, good job, here you go.
Of course, everyone is going to be respecting the Kerrigan combo, and you can see the real veteran Kerrigan players are the ones that do hang on to that combo, because they know there's a lot of ways to dodge it. Even just walking perpendicular to the direction of the combo itself can get you out of it. So there's a lot of mind games going on just with the peculiar positioning.
Kubi, it looks like we're going to have a curse here with the golem in the top lane. What looked like a great situation for Cloud9, this is now horrible. Seriously, that golem pushing with the entire team of Zeveron. Zeveron is poised to do massive damage.
Yes, but of course we do have the catapult push in the bottom lane. Just something to keep in mind during this fight. KingCaffeine leading the charge for his team, does have the unstoppable with his trait Iron Skin, and really they just need to defend this as well as possible. You're right, Cloud9 Maelstrom all of a sudden getting themselves backed up to their core.
Tassadar gets very low. 12 seconds remaining till that longboat raid is ready for the Vikings, so they are quite vulnerable. Hinterland's blast hitting many targets. KingCaffeine gonna go down, but so is Jaina. Damage dealer for a tank. We do see them falling time and time again, but the core is taking massive damage. Void Prison buying some time, but Fury not going to live through that.
We see Keiwan Pro saved his longboat raid until the last second because he knew he would get that upgrade ability, and I think that this is actually going to be a lot of heroes being taken down. They will be able to defend this core. That's 5 heroes down for Zeveron. Cloud9 Maelstrom, they already have to keep taken down in the bottom lane. They can just run over. I think they're going to be able to take this match.
Yes, they have to run across the map. Only 3 members are still alive, but they have more than enough damage. Yes, there is a curse against them. They need to be cautious because those minions, there's no shielding left. They're going to start attacking this core back in base, but fortunately, their minions spawn just in time. I don't know if they can do it.
Yeah, it's going to be really close. Of course, Kerrigan is back up in 20 seconds. It looks like they're starting to doubt the ability to take this, and it was a very, very strong team fight, but maybe the decisiveness going back after that, not quite there. They're just going to settle, take this fort. Honestly, at the very least, I would have liked to have seen them try to take a keep.
Yeah, I mean, just go back behind the enemy walls here, go for that keep, but no, they're just going to take out that fort, just playing it safe right now. 12 seconds, Tassadar will be up. 15 seconds till Muradin and Rhaegar are both back up, and we do see that Johanna and Zeratul both now back in action.
You know what, Jake? 5K on the line for the winning team of this tournament. Yes, play safe. Even in situations where we might normally see teams get aggressive, even if they're feeling super confident, it might be the right call for them just so that they can feel more comfortable.
I think the other big thing to point out here is the fact that the Lost Vikings don't have a mount, right? They only have the sprint. So to get across the map, they kind of realize, oh man, it's going to take a long time to go core to core as the Vikings. One of their only drawbacks as a hero, and look at this, they're going down the top lane. They're going to try to ambush the core, but they just showed themselves they need to go now.
I think this might be the opportunity of Maelstrom. Are they going to be able to hearth back in time? We do see 4 of the members backing up, and the Void Person is thrown down. This might be a little bit of an overextension. madtimmy and Fury following up behind the rest of their team. Equinox using that Maelstrom. He's on the other side of the core. They're going for it. They're going all in on the core. It is down to 20%, and the Hinterland's blast going down, trying to stall it. I think Zeveron's done it. They take this to game number 3.
Oh my goodness, Kubi, I can't believe it. Taking this to game number 3, resetting the series 1-1. Well done by Zeveron.
Zeveron, these guys, they are known for doing this kind of stuff. They take the closest possible games between all of these really, really top teams.
Man, what a crazy game, man. Like, that was just absolutely ecstatic, just all the way to the end there. And Zeveron putting a point on the board to go to game number 3. I mean, this is what this tournament's all about. These guys are putting forth everything. All the tricks are out, and I gotta say, that was really impressive work.
Okay, so yeah, really, really close. It's awesome to see that they are able to back this up to 1-1 between these two teams. And we said it before we went into this series, Maelstrom is the favorite. Yes, we can see right there, 1-1 between these two, like, honestly, just monstrosities of teams. I'm so looking forward to see what these guys can bring to this tournament.
Yeah, we talk a little bit more about the history. Cloud9, they've been together as a 5-man stack for about 4 months now. Zeveron, they come from EG, Murlocs, Inc., you name it, all over the place, but they look so refined. 5 experienced players. And you know what, Jester, do you got a replay for us?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at a little bit earlier on into the game, so we're going to load that up right here. But, 19-18 at this last moment. This was the very beginning of that death push at the end. This is how we accumulated all that core damage. It was just the big Zeveron push into that top lane. And, they have the blue team curse. There goes that keep, and it's just big pressure. This is where Cloud9 Maelstrom really had to defend, and unfortunately, they just took so much of a beating on top of that core. Big fights there into the top. The Golem is still pushing down as well. What do you do as Cloud9? You got to try to clean up. Great condemn into that Hinterland's blast, but it's not enough. Johanna goes down. They do trade it for the Jaina and the Kerrigan, but the damage is so real on that core. The VP, the defensive Void Prison, we've seen now twice. Once at the end of the game. It was really good tactics, but it just wasn't enough. 36% is a very easy to take down core.
For sure, yeah, just very, very well done, and they maybe were able to calculate the amount of heroes that were taken out in that initial push, but having that initial damage, taking the core down to 36%, really did set themselves up for a stronger push later on in the game.
Now, I want to ask you guys, if the Lost Vikings didn't get picked off in that situation where they were scouting out that golem that we saw pushing at the end, and they didn't use a longboat raid, which was on cooldown in the last fight, do you think that would have made a big difference for the final defense?
One of the big tools that Cloud9 Maelstrom had, of course, was the Viking bow, because it can just absolutely do unmitigated amounts of damage, especially level 20 Ragnarok and Roll. You hit 2 targets at free will, plus, of course, the mortar. Big damage. So without that in the fight, the damage potential was significantly less, and that is definitely a big factor in what happened there.
Yeah, something to consider. Yeah, maybe they were aware of this, Zeveron. If they knew that ability was on or off cooldown, they might not have pushed in so hard. We might have seen a very, very different game than what we did see.
Very true. Well, that was game number 2. Game number 3 is going to be crazy. I don't know. I don't even know what to expect, Kubi.
Map-wise or anything in terms of bans and how these teams were playing, maybe look to try to take out the Kerrigan once again. I'm not sure. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, folks. We'll be back in just a few with game number 3.
On phones. Hearthstone on phones. Now you can do battle wherever you may go. Play it here or anywhere. Just grab a phone and Hearthstone's there. Calling all ye heroes. Hearthstone's on phone.
Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. Stick it in your phone. Rated T for teen.
We will never be slaves, but we will be conquerors. World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor. Boost to level 90 instantly. Available now. Rated T for teen.
Come out, wherever you are.
Nuclear launch detected.
Heroes of the Storm. Get it free at playheroes.com. Rated T for teen.
Welcome back, everyone, to the North America June Open for Heroes of the Storm in NA. Yes, very, very exciting. I hope you guys have been enjoying these games as much as we have, because we've seen some real nail-biters. That last game, no exception.
I can't believe that Zeveron brought it back in that game. I mean, Cloud9 was looking oh so very refined in that fight, in the entire game, but they brought it back and they dealt with that global composition that they had with the Vikings and Brightwing.
I think that game number 1 really did prepare Zeveron for that kind of strategy. So when they saw it, it's just like, all right, this is going to be a big split push potential. We need to hammer it hard and fast, and they did that. At the very end, they were able to get down not only a boss, but the second curse, and then it was just keep into fort damage, which set them up very nicely for that win at the very end of it. And, you know, if I have to take any kind of guess, I'm not going to see that kind of same strategy here from Cloud9 Maelstrom. We're probably going to see something a bit more aggressive.
Yeah, I would think so. And it did work so well for them in the first series. But I think, yeah, Zeveron seems to have been catching on. They play a little bit more of an aggressive style to it, and they're able to rotate against Cloud9 Maelstrom. And who knows, if they start to see the beginnings of that, maybe they'll take an even more aggressive composition. Maybe Tyrael will be thrown into it and looks to try to stop that once again.
Well, let's take a look at KingCaffeine. One of the big players in that, of course, he's the warrior for Cloud9. We saw some great play on Johanna in this series. He's from California. He fenced in the NCAA with a saber. That's actually so cool. That's like the most manly thing I've ever heard. And he's half French and has dual citizenship.
Oh, I know all about that life.
That's right. Oh, all right. So, okay. So, we're talking about maybe more aggressive strategies. What do you think that Cloud9 Maelstrom should change up? If we're not really looking to see this passive strategy one more time, You said aggressive. What does that mean exactly?
A big thing for me is that so far it's the Brightwing. I think the fact that there's a lot of mobility available, and they kind of don't really use that for fights, but they use it instead for the split soaking. I think that has a lot of it. Also, 2 for 2. We've seen now Falstead for Cloud9 Maelstrom, and Falstead in the current meta, I mean, he doesn't really do a ton of area of effect damage, but he does single home a single point, and of course the Hinterland's Blast is big burst. If we were to replace that, for example, with the Kael'thas, with the Jaina, something a bit more higher mage quality, bigger burst on a more consistent level, we might start seeing a little bit more of an aggressive comp from them.
Mm-hmm. And we know that Cloud9 Maelstrom is a very, very aggressive, or I should say adaptable team. We know that, I mean, honestly, it's them seeing this passive style of play is a bit different than what I'm used to for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
Exactly right.
And the fact that they went to it, but we know that they can go aggressive. We know that they can have a very rotation-heavy style composition. So I would fully expect to see them change it up, and I think that that's not really going to make them a weaker team for that.
Well, we're going to find out in game number 3. The draft is ready to roll between Cloud9 Maelstrom and Zeveron, and the first ban is it's going to be on the Kerrigan. Kerrigan has just been paying the bills, and they're going to take her out.
It's no surprise to see them get rid of that because, of course, that seems to be the mainstay for Zeveron. We saw that banned out in game number 1, worked out really well, and having that banned out in game 3 makes a lot of sense.
And this is a guy that we have been seeing time and again up on that chop block. Zerato is going to be out, and this is the big chance for Cloud9 Maelstrom. Will they actually revert more to the Abathur ways, or will they start showing us a little bit more mage-heavy, a bit more damage-heavy comps?
Maybe we'll see at Illidan, I don't know, but first off, we are seeing the Abathur. That could be a setup to see a little bit more Illidan play.
And the map is going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Once more, huh?
Having Abathur on this map, he's very different, right? His role is, there's not as much split pushing as it is for a map like Cursed Hollow, but still, he's a very powerful hero with that hat on the head of heroes like Johanna or Illidan.
And speak of the devil.
Oh
Yes,
my goodness.
Taking that away from Cloud9 Maelstrom, they seem to really like the combination between Abathur and Johanna. Makes a lot of sense. And following that up with a Tassadar.
So the Tassadar for Zeveron is a lot of information control, special level 4. If you're not going to go for the promote, it's a smaller map. We had a bit of an interview earlier via remote about exactly how powerful a promote could be on a smaller map. So if it's not going to be that, it's going to be mental acuity to try to just continue on with that information control.
Very strong pick. And we see on the other side for Cloud9 Maelstrom, it is going to be a Jaina grab. They could go for both of the mages. Not the case. There it is. Illidan is going to pop up for the first time that we've seen thus far today, which is quite surprising. Let's take a closer look at some of his abilities. We do, of course, have the dive and the sweeping strike. That's what really gives him so much mobility. But more importantly, it's the evasion. He dodges so much damage while he has that active, and it just really lets him get in the face of the enemy team to just wreak havoc.
And of course, Betrayer's Thirst just gives him so much sustainability. All of his damage dealt, 20% returned as healing for him. A very powerful hero.
Yep, and the big meta, of course, with all those temporary hit points coming in, it overall just makes a very hard to deal with hero. So when you come into an Illidan situation, you're going to be looking for control. Already we have Johanna there from Zeveron. You also, since this is now double bans, you need to kind of take somebody out of the equation that goes extremely well with an Illidan, so it's not a surprise to see Uther there.
Yeah, get that Divine Shield out for sure. And we'll have to see what Cloud9 Maelstrom. Okay, there it is. It's going to be the Sylvanas. What do you think of that?
This is big.
Yep.
Well, Sylvanas, removing Sylvanas is nice, but they're also leaving Brightwing on the table with Tassadar. That's double promote that's now available for Zeveron. And on this map, you promote 4 minions at once with the Web Reavers. It gets quite scary.
But it's easy to rotate. It's easy to kind of deal with them, but it's a good call. Brightwing Tassadar does look like the double promote is going to be very prevalent here from Zeveron.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Zagara. This is
so much push power between all of those heroes.
And it also goes, again, towards the information control. Creep tumors provide vision. You can put those in vents, and you can see some of that incoming damage.
Let's just once again quickly take a very fast look at Zagara's kit. Now, Zagara is a very unique hero in Heroes of the Storm. That's Rhaegar. He's a great guy, too.
We just saw him last game, of course.
Just shows how strong he was. He just shows up in all these drafts moving forward. But yeah, so we'll get that fixed in just a second for you guys. But the Zagara, I have to say, just so strong to see that. But you mentioned with the creep tumors, it's going to be very, very impactful, like you said, to get vision control over those turn-in points.
But it looks like it is going to be Rhaegar on the side of Cloud9 Maelstrom.
That's what all works out. There we go.
He has ancestral healing,
one step ahead.
which can be thrown down on the Illidan, of course, and that'll just keep Illidan nice and healthy and happy. Of course, with Uther being banned out, Divine Shield is the general one that we would see with the team, but I'm happy with that pickup myself.
So could this be an Asmodan as the last pick? Would Cloud9 run that. I didn't think they would, but you got to think about it. Tomb of the Spider Queen, it's a big map for him, but we do need a diving buddy to go with Illidan and his dive, and Mirrodin can easily dwarf toss and keep up, at least for a little bit there with Illidan.
For sure, but there is the potential maybe for that last pick to be Azmodan for Zeveron. They do have the Johanna, the Tassadar. It's not going to be the case. It's actually going to be Tychus. That is something we don't see too often.
Right, but at the same time, Tychus does all ability damage. His auto
melting
attacks,
point?
Yep, melting point is good for the siege, but it's all about that Illidan. The overkill could not be evaded.
Yeah, this is actually going to be ridiculous. So it's good against Illidan, like you mentioned, and it's also good against just pushing in general because of the melting point that he has. Every single hero on the side of Zeveron has some emphasis on push potential.
Yes, absolutely. So that is going to be the composition that we have for both teams. Hopping into game number 3, the tensions are high, guys.
Yeah.
I have to say, getting into the round of 4 in this tournament is going to get you so much further. And I think without further ado, we're going to try to get into the game in just a little bit.
Yeah, Tomb of the Spider Queen for game number 3. Guys, get excited and don't be afraid to hop on social media. You can tweet at BlizzHeroes and use the hashtag HeroesWC.
That's right. Get in on the conversation. We want to hear what you guys think. And like Jake said, follow Blizz Heroes. We want to hear everything from you guys. But let's not dilly-dally any further and hop into game number 3 between Zeveron and
of course, Cloud9 Maelstrom.
All right, let's get to introducing the teams. Of course, it is going to be Biceps on the Abathur. Once again, K1 Pro on Jaina. Dunktrain is going to be on the Rhaegar. KingCaffeine on Mirrodin. And rounding out the composition in the bottom lane, it is going to be Illidan.
On the other side, that is, of course, going to be Zeveron here. They have Equinox, Fury, Faye, CauthonLuck, and madtimmy. They're all ready for action. Every single member in the middle of the battlefield at this point in time. And they're just posturing across the map. Now, we've seen Tomb of the Spider Queen a few times today already. This map is, the name of the game is really just aggression, but we're seeing a very different style. We've seen a very non-combat compositions coming out of Cloud9 for the first 2 games. This time, it's a full push composition out of Zeveron, and they kind of innovated that.
Yeah, you're right about that, but we're going to have to see how the Mirrodin, Illidan, Jaina combo really pairs together with that Abathur. We have to mention it, of course, too, Jaina plus Abathur. That is a great target to clone with that evolve. Oh, not, excuse me, the ultimate evolution ability.
Right, yeah, that's actually a really good point. 2 huge targets for that. Abathur has a massive impact on the map in general, and he will help mitigate a lot of that split push potential with all of the promoted minions with the Locust of his own.
All right, let's take a look at some of these level 1 talents we have picked up. Of course, madtimmy on the Brightwing, grabbing that scouting drone. So important, like we were sort of hyping up before the match. Having vision control is really clutch. They're going to have a lot of it between Zagara, that scouting drone, and of course, Tassadar's trait.
Yeah, there's actually a lot, but it's actually also a big benefit to have Tassadar and Zagara, because we typically will see Tassadar picked up as a response to Zagara, but if you pick up Tassadar first, guess what?
That's
you can't do that.
Very good point. Very good point. So, of course, the name of the game is turning in these gems so that you can summon the web weavers, and control over those 2 points is going to be very critical. We see thus far 13 have been turned in for Zeveron. They're looking to try to get a jump start so they can start taking down those towers to get that experience lead.
Yeah, as long as you're not wasting, or missing soak in your lanes, turning in the gems, always a good idea, because if you do fall while holding them, it is possible to lose the gems in battle.
Okay, both teams really just sort of playing very passively, but again, that vision is going to make it so much easier for Zeveron to catch wind of these rotations that could potentially happen from Maelstrom.
It's just going to be a lot of passivity. Each other just trying to feel each other out, collect as many gems as possible. And really when we're going to start to see a little bit more aggression as level 4, because that's when the promotes get a little bit more ridiculous. We will see the melting point on Tychus. Actually, let's just confirm as both teams are now hitting level 4.
Yes, I believe that is the melting point pickup for Tychus. Like you mentioned, it does so much damage to structures, but not only structures, minions and mercenaries as well. So that's going to help so much with the push potential. We have the double promote. That is, like you mentioned previously, so much aggression to be able to push down single target lanes, and that looks to be what they're trying to do.
Illidan in the bottom, picking up those giants very early. He is one of the best at marking in this entire game, especially with that hat. The Stormbolt stunning on Fury. The damage coming out from Jaina. That's going to be first blood of this game. Nicely done.
A bit of an overextension, especially considering the target had Laws of Hope as well. It was still able to be taken down, so it just goes to show the strength of Illidan, plus that Abathur hat, and Jaina, of course, can't count her out with that damage output.
And the Giants, I mean, yeah, they're still in that bottom lane, just being an annoyance. madtimmy, CauthonLuck have to throw their abilities at that to remove them, push these lanes back, collect those gems. But in the meanwhile, we have 18 gems turned in from Cloud9.
Okay, yeah, the double promotes continuing to push down, being a nuisance for both these teams. They're just trying to clean up that mercenary camp. But like you mentioned, yes, the gems are quite close. Quite a bit more collected for Cloud9 Maelstrom at this point. They still have an additional 30, which would put them so close to getting that first turn into the game.
30 gems in their pockets, that's quite a bit. Yeah, that would put them 2 away if my math is actually not that bad.
It is correct. I'm pretty sure it is. Nicely done, Jake.
All right, well, we see the Aetherhat trying to help defend this top tower, well, this tower in the top lane, and Cloud9 forcing them back, but the aggression has been on. We talked about the structural damage, we talked about this push, this kind of split push composition. Every single hero can either promote or summon minions or really just put the pain on enemy structures and minions.
Right, but they need to find themselves the opportunity to really take advantage of that, and I think that's what Maelstrom has been doing such a good job denying at this point, because you need time to yourselves and the rest of your crew to like push down, say, the bottom lane uncontested, so they need to take a team fight or find some way to rotate ahead of Maelstrom. But with such an aggressive lineup and heavy mobility, Abathur can just be on any hero at any point with that symbiote ability. It might make that quite difficult.
And I really want to just point out the fact that Rhaegar did go with Farsight. Now, there's a lot of vision with the Oracle and Tassadar and the creep spread of the Zagara, but Farsight's going to help out a fair amount in just getting eyes on the enemy team and knowing when you're safe to just engage.
Yes, absolutely. So we do have quite a bit of sustainability. So we do have the regen for Zagara, first aid, gust of healing for Brightwing, all picked up at level 7 on Zeveron's side.
Yeah, all right. Well, right now they're just getting that creep spread around this top coffer. They just want to make sure they control it. iDream did just turn in a fair amount of gems. They only need 10 more. Fork trying to go in for CauthonLuck. That will be enough if they get it, and that will be the first summon on the Web Weavers of this game.
Wow, considering that it is going out for Zeveron's side, I'm a little bit shocked, to be honest, because the amount of gem control that Maelstrom had up until this point was quite a bit higher, but Zeveron really showing, and this might be the distraction that they need to really employ their strategy of just pushing hard.
Yeah, this is when it really starts to fan out. Once you get this summon on the Web Weavers, you have all these abilities that just help them push so effectively. Whether it's the minions soaking up additional shots because of the promote or the melting point just tearing through their defenses, it's quite powerful.
Okay, so we do see quite a bit of representation in this top lane. Equinox on the Tychus there with the melting point is going to be able to push out so much further. And actually a little bit of abandonment in the middle lane. So the soak going to be going to the advantage of Maelstrom at this point, but what is the damage done for Zeveron in the top lane?
Yeah, look at that. I mean, we're only at the 6-minute marker, and it's just getting torn through so very quickly. Top lane being defended, Bruisers plus those guys. Actually, excuse me, that's the middle lane. They're going to end up falling rather quickly. Brightwing split pushing alongside all of this, making sure they have the advantage in the soak, and they have now taken the experience lead in favor of Zeveron.
Yeah, so they gave up a little bit of presence in the middle lane, soak-wise. Maelstrom, of course, being diligent, making sure they have representation in all the lanes, but still, taking that fort, it was more than enough to catch them up and even put them in the lead to the race to level 10 to get those heroic talents.
They did, but only 10 gems are needed on the side of Cloud9. 32 on Dunktrain. iDream going forward with those 14. The Abathur hat could come out. Not going to end up happening. We see the mines distracting, dismounting Fury and Equinox, forcing them back. They're not going to be able to get that turn in without contest from Zeveron, who does have their level 10 heroics.
They did just hit that, so we'll talk about those just a little bit. We do have Archon, the Dragon Laser Drill. Now this is, actually, I'll get back to that in just a second. We do have Maw as well, Blessed Shield, and Blink Heal. Now, the Dragon Laser Drill, of course, Tychus is able to throw down sort of a turret that is able to channel onto any target. You can retarget within the range, but what this is really good at doing is dealing with Illidan. And as soon as Illidan hops in, you throw down the drill, and if he's trying to stay within your team, bouncing around, just trying to reset his abilities with his auto attacks, you just throw the laser on him, and it does quite a good job. And something that we used to see a long time ago as a counter to Illidan.
Yeah, well, I mean, he just doesn't want to take that damage. He's just going to be like, all right, I'm going to leave now. And it's just a nice way to handle him. Like you mentioned, the Web Weavers have been summoned. 10 coins did go in from Jaina. Exactly what they needed, and they are just going to push on in with them. Remember, this is not the team that has the additional push potential. The opposing side has so many ways to respond to this. So they should have, I mean, look how easily that middle one's falling just to Zagara alone, and Tychus handling this guy here in the top lane by himself. No problem.
Yes, no problem indeed. Level 10 also just hit for Cloud9 Maelstrom. We do have the Avatar once again, the Metamorphosis, Water Elemental, Ancestral Healing, and of course another interesting pick is the Evolved Monstrosity once again. Even though they have some great targets for Ultimate Evolution, they're still preferring that style.
Could be this composition out of Zeveron looks so good because they took no damage, but Equinox has taken a fair amount. The first aid in Brightwing not going to be enough there. The Maw going down, followed by the Condemn onto the Piggy. The Piggy getting quite low. There's the Ancestral keeping Rhaegar alive, and that is going to be a 1-for-0 in favor of Complexity.
Yes,
why do I keep calling them?
That's okay. Okay, we do see another takedown has been picked up, and madtimmy will be able to just barely retreat past his gate. Maelstrom was looking to try to continue that lead a little bit further forward. Not going to be the case. Fury with that Johanna really just trying to control with that peel, and looks as though Maelstrom is setting up to try to take this top lane, get some counter pressure going.
Yeah, well, we see that well is quite low right now. K1 Pro needs to be careful. Going to back on out here. Right now, Cloud9, they do have that split soak with Abathur. That's the power of this hero in any map. And when they know that all the focus is on the top lane, well, they're going to be happy to take that advantage with Abathur soaking. Very good positioning here by Biceps.
For sure. I mean, that just goes to show that's an experienced Abathur player because he knows that he has to push forward to try to collect that experience to keep up with the enemy team with this crazy, crazy push strategy.
And that's a back-to-back turn-in. They got the first summon, which really didn't do a lot, but in the aftermath of it, they forced a fight and they managed to get a good amount of damage done. Now here they are with another turn-in. They're working on these giants, but no, since the Weavers have been summoned, they can see these knights are being taken, and iDream, he's backing on out.
Yes, of course, Zeveron, no strangers to this kind of strategy. They really wanted to make sure that no one was able to take those those giants in the bottom lane. So smartly played, and because they really need to make sure they have as much an opportunity to push back at these web weavers.
And iDream with the hat, the Stormbolt does connect on Tychus. We do see Brightwing Faye shifting on and forcing the hand of them. We still have Jaina in the middle lane pushing with the web weavers. They want the structural damage done, but a nice condemn, forcing out that metamorphosis on iDream. The damage is coming out onto madtimmy, getting very low. The self-healing is there, but Illidan's positioning, is it too aggressive?
Ooh.
The Ancestral is there in time.
Really, really well played. That Ancestral so on point. We did see the laser drill thrown down, but it wasn't enough to deter Illidan from going in. He's in the back line. CauthonLuck has to back up on Tassadar, will be able to do so. Fury looking to try to just put a bit more pressure on, but really, this is a full retreat for Zeveron.
Oh no, CauthonLuck will fall. Fury not looking too hot right now, but he's going to be able to escape this time. We still have those web weavers with the monstrosity in that top lane, and we do see the full retreat, but iDream is quite low right now.
So many members of the overextension from Tychus. K1 Pro just turns around and just throws all of his kit at him, and that just goes to show why Jaina is such a strong assassin in this game.
Man, this is Cloud9 saying, hey, you guys have split push, we have monstrosity, and we can get mercenary camps, and if you don't respond to them, the damage is going to be devastating. Suddenly, it's level 13 to 14 in favor of Cloud9, and they are looking phenomenal in this game.
But this might be the opportunity that Zeveron should take to try to bounce back. They want to make sure they can do it while they're still uneven talent tiers. And level 16 is sort of looming a little bit for Cloud9 Maelstrom, so we might look to see Zeveron get a bit aggressive to try to bounce back.
Yeah, they're looking at that monstrosity in the top lane. Brightwing just kind of going toe-to-toe up there. We have these giants pushing bottom. There they go. Monstrosity will fall if he doesn't babysit it a little bit. But the gems, once again, going in. Already 23. That's going to be 36 if those 13 go in. There they are. And yeah, Cloud9, they just have control of the middle of the map.
Absolutely do. Okay, so we haven't really talked too much about Brightwing's build, but so far, we talked about the promote a little bit, but we do have the Gust of Healing, the Blink Heal, and now the Phase Shield. So this is very much a full support Brightwing, and it will be for sure needed, especially considering how aggressive Maelstrom has been up to this point.
And this is generally how madtimmy will play Brightwing, but I got to say the Ancestrals from Dunktrain, the other support on the opposing side of Cloud9, have been on point. If Illidan did not receive that Ancestral in the last fight, it would have looked way different.
Okay, so we do see more contention over these turning points, the vision being thrown down. You mentioned the far sight for Rhaegar there, just to keep control, keep tabs on that to make sure the enemy team, and there's 63 gems on Johanna right now.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot of gems on Johanna. There they are, Stormbolt connecting, but she's going to be so hard to remove from the battlefield. Rotating around, she just wants to unload those gems into the coffer so that she can have the summon of the web weavers, but it's 16 to 14, and they don't want to take a fight down that talent tier.
Yeah, that's kind of a scary position to put yourself in, but you have to at some point get those gems turned in. Otherwise it becomes more and more risky to even have you around in team fights. If you lose that many gems at this point, that will be devastating for the rest of your team to move forward, and I think that's actually enough for an additional turn in 3 in a row for Cloud9 Maelstrom at this point.
And they're actually looking to posture around the boss. Now this is just them checking it out. Okay, they're not actually going to look to take this. It's a very big risk. We do see that is a nice scouting drone going down, revealing the position. I think they're trying to bait out a disadvantaged team fight for Zeveron.
Yes, I think because of course the more you attack it just a little bit. This shows the enemy team that someone is up there taking this boss, and you mentioned the scouting drone. That does give them the vision of it. I think Zeveron is actually a little bit aware of this, so it's a really cool back and forth between these two teams.
But if they can take it, I mean, Illidan is doing a good job. It's down to half health. There's the Metamorphosis going in. We see that Zagara fell almost instantly. A nice drill going down, doing the damage to Illidan, but is it enough? He's in the front line. He's chasing Equinox. The shields come out, but he will go down. madtimmy doesn't have blink heal. He's going to fall. That's 3 for nothing. Make it 4, Kubi.
Wow, great bait from Cloud9 Maelstrom. Just sort of posturing up near that boss, waiting for them to overextend just a little bit, and then you saw they pulled the trigger. The Metamorphosis was thrown down for Illidan. He was able to get so many members of Zeveron in that. This is going to be a devastating push.
Yeah, they're good. They have the Web Weavers with the Monstrosity in the bottom lane. Top keep, gonna fall here. There's just aggression across the map. They could get 2, maybe 3 keeps with this much aggression because they have a 3-level lead, Kubi.
Yeah, 3-level lead. They have that talent here, the level 16 abilities. That's so much more survivability with Murden, with the stone form, the blood for blood on Illidan, the root or the semi-root on the Earth Grasp Totem. Yeah, you're right. There's just so much pressure all across the map, and you said the possibility of 3 keeps going down with this push. It could be very real.
And the core, of course, has been tapped. That's why we see the core health coming up. Oh my goodness, does it survive? It's down to just a fragment of health, and they do manage to keep it up for the time being, but a single tickle from an enemy will remove that keep.
Yeah, I think anybody could certainly rotate over there at any point. Even just next time that creep wave gets over there, Abathur just throwing down the symbiote on one of the minions would be more than enough.
All right. Well, Caffeine guarding the turn-in, and that's the name of the game right now. If you manage to get that turn-in, 81 here
dude.
on Johanna, but they're just waiting for her. Going in, Illidan in the front line, just forcing her back. She used her Unstoppable to back on out. Man, that's rough to not be able to turn those in.
That's what I'm saying. It just becomes more and more of a risk to have her in the front line, but that's what she's supposed to do. If only there was some way for you to trade the gems across to your enemy, the allies on your team, but obviously not the case, and they have to find a way to get the positioning, the posturing forward so that they can have control of this turn-in point, but they just can't seem to do it. Maelstrom is too diligent.
Yeah, too diligent. The boss is there in the top of the map. Never was picked up, and it looks like they're going to start working on it. This is kind of like their last-ditch effort. They said, if we don't do this here, we don't win this game. It is 16-19, but 20 is around the corner. Farsight revealing the position of the entire team, and Cloud9 is moving in.
Yes, and they're so close to level 20. Like you mentioned, those Storm Talents can really do a lot to turn the fight. Caffeine is going in. We see the Metamorphosis thrown down, and it looks as though Zagara was blown up almost immediately. Ancestral Healing thrown down. That will be able to keep everyone up more than enough alive. And that's 2 heroes, 3 heroes
Look at
down.
those
Johanna's
giant
down.
gems on the ground.
Oh my goodness, yes. And of course, that is the boss being also picked up. We see the GG well played thrown out from Zeveron. They know this is it with the mercenary camps pushing over in the bottom side.
Wow. I just got to hand it to him. Biceps there in the enemy base, using off that symbiote ability. That was, in fact, a 5 for nothing. A very convincing game number 3 out of Cloud9. They brought a crazy strategy here against this very split push focused build, which is showing off how powerful Illidan can be in the hands of a very strong player.
Yeah, Maelstrom did an excellent job during that game, and we can see that the core has fallen. That is going to be the victory for Cloud9 Maelstrom. A close series, but they were able to battle back.